We went to the movie this weekend.
What movie? The movie? What's the movie? Is there only one out?
I guess I was like being old-timey there. We went to the movies. We went to the picture show, Erin. We saw the moving pictures this weekend.
What movie did you see?
I live with three boys that like
Mm.
comics and all the things. So we saw the Thunderbolts movie, which I know nothing about. I know less than nothing. So when you stay and watch like after credits and stuff and things are happening and there's all these Easter eggs and everybody's clapping and pointing, that's not me. That's not me. I'm like, hey guys, psst, what just happened? What do I need to know?
Is it a movie about weather?
No, it's is it Marvel? I don't know. I'm gonna sound so
Oh.
stupid now. It's I think it's Marvel and it's whoever the Avengers are. These are like the Avenger misfits, okay?
Okay, got
Okay?
it.
Like I know that you don't care either, so that's not even why I'm telling you about this, okay?
Okay. Okay, we're not discussing the movie.
No,
Okay.
we're not talking about the movie. We went to the movie and we all have our popcorn and we're sitting and the show is about to start and I love the people watching, so I always seat us high enough that I'm just watching as everybody's walking in and stuff. And this lady comes walking in. She looks quite young to me. Turns out she's not as young as I thought she was. Anyway, she's walking in carrying like a large popcorn and like my nightmare happened to her.
Oh
She
no.
trips over her own feet like as she's right in the middle of all of us, like we're all stadium seating looking down, right? She trips
Oh,
over her own feet and her popcorn, like cartoon style, flies and she is like face first down in front of all of us.
no.
I know, like instantly, like I'm ready to get out of my chair to go help her. Turns out she was sitting right in front of us. That's where her family is. She also is there with her husband and two teenage boys. The
Oh, the boys are cringing. They're dying.
No, so this is the thing is that the teenage boys were like, "Mom fell." And one of them like had seen it happen and he launches himself up and goes running down to help her. This
Oh.
other son was a little slower, but he too got up and went and helped mom. Meanwhile, like still though, mom is like already standing up and she's like hobbling to get back out, like of out of the theater. Dad does nothing.
Was he laughing though? Because maybe what he was doing was stifling a lot of laughter, and that
He
was
was
enough.
just sitting, still eating his popcorn. He like looked over. It's like playing the quiz on the big screen. I don't know what dad was doing. When they didn't come back, like after a few minutes, dad was like, guess I gotta go too. Puts down his popcorn and gets up and goes. But I was like, that seems so typical. I feel like that's what would have happened in my family too.
You would have had the laughters though. Aren't you the giggler when people get hurt? Don't you giggle first?
I want to be sure they're okay first, then I'll giggle. Yes, I love watching all the fail videos and stuff on the internet. Are you kidding? Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
Anyway, the moral of the story is if someone falls, just get up and help them, okay? Mostly, I'm just going to play this for my sons and husband.
Your sons would get up though. You've got very good kids that would be very helpful.
I hope so. I almost want to do it on purpose just to see if they would come to my aid.
I feel like we should make that happen. We were going to talk today about women feeling resentment. So that ties in because I wonder if that woman had any resentment towards her husband. He definitely had resentment over the amount of popcorn he didn't get to eat.
I hope she came back with popcorn, so I'm hoping that they gave her a free refill and she didn't pay for that at least.
Yeah, do they give you a free refill if you bite the dust?
Please, they better. If listen, movie theaters, if you're not doing that's mean. We're paying $27,000 for a large buttered popcorn these days. So the least you can do if we dump it on the floor by accident is give us a refill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I
back
was
on track. You were talking about what today?
I was just in Vegas
Yeah.
doing an event, and I was talking to this woman that I work with who's really amazing, and she was saying, "Have you ever done any episodes on women being the breadwinner?" I'm like, all the time. I'd say that's the majority of our audience, to be honest, is women who are breadwinners. And we've even called people who aren't the breadwinner the bread losers. We had that big joke for a long time, like as a joke, people. Okay, so if you're not the breadwinner, you're not actually a bread loser, but we were talking about that. But I don't think we've designated a whole entire episode into it for a long time. And
Okay.
so I just was struck by some of the things she was saying, really made me realize that women can feel resentful about being a breadwinner for a variety of personal, social, and cultural reasons. And it's rarely just about the money. It's always about so many other things. So I thought we'd break that down today and talk about that. So if you relate to this, we want to hear from you. We'll put a link in the show notes so that you can leave us a voicemail and tell us your story. But we're just going to have an open discussion about this. And I'm open to being wrong. So I don't want to assume that everything I'm sharing relates to you. You might have a unique experience. You might love being the breadwinner. But specifically today, we're going to talk about women who don't love being the breadwinner for a number of reasons.
Okay.
So, one of the main reasons I've discovered is unequal emotional labor. So even when women earn more, they're often still expected to handle the second shift, right? Cooking, cleaning, managing the kids' lives, maintaining social calendars, remembering birthdays, being both the primary earner and the primary caregiver. That can feel unfair, and it is unfair. My friend Pammy one time, I've told you the story a million times, but it's one of my favorite sayings we've all incorporated into our vernacular now. But my friend Pammy was running a bunch of Airbnbs and she got this email one time randomly from a guy who was like, "Hey, like, I want to partner with you on this." And she was like, "Oh, tell me more." And he didn't have any other ideas. He just wanted to partner with her on it. And she goes, "Besides your dick, what do you bring into this party, bro?" So the question can be sometimes if I'm paying the bills and I'm remembering to pack the school lunches and what exactly are you doing here? And that can feel really painful to even question,
Hmm.
especially when you love somebody. The second reason is traditional gender scripts die hard. And many women were raised with the idea that men are supposed to provide. I was certainly raised with that idea. And even if they don't believe that intellectually, like even if that's not part of what you've seen modeled for you, there's still a subconscious expectation just in society. It's almost like this tiny thread that still exists of patriarchy, a little bit of misogyny. There's a lot of just undertones and undercurrents in our society. And certainly there are people who absolutely do believe that for religious reasons or otherwise. Like they really believe that is their role. And there are men who believe that also. And I think that's great if you both believe that and if you're both on that page and you both agree. The challenge becomes when you unconsciously believe that or you have unspoken expectations about that, and then it's not the reality, it can feel like you've been handed a job you didn't apply for. And the other challenging thing is that sometimes things happen. People lose their jobs, they start out that way, and then in time, things happen or whatever, and somebody finds themselves in that role accidentally. And they think it's just for a season and it carries on and on. And then how do you have the discussion about it? Because you never had an initial discussion about what it was going to look like initially.
Hmm.
The third reason is there's sometimes lack of ambition or contribution from a partner. And it's one thing to be the breadwinner because your partner's chasing a dream or taking care of the kids, but it's another when he or she is just not trying. Resentment builds fast when one person is like grinding it out and the other one's just coasting. So it's not the money, it's the lack of drive, I think, that can be really harmful in a relationship. Another couple you and I know when they started to get married. So this is 20 years ago and stay-at-home dads were not as big of a thing then as they are now. But I remember him saying they were both earning about equally. And he said, if we ever have kids, I'd love to be a stay-at-home dad. And she was like, "Oh, why is that?" And he's, "I don't know. I could just play video games and I could." And she was like, "Let me just stop you right there. Just let me just stop you right there." So I think there also traditionally has been a misunderstanding about what stay-at-home women actually do and how much work it actually is, because we know from looking at various studies that have been done over the last couple of years, if you were to pay a stay-at-home wife for all
Mm.
of the different jobs she does, or a stay-at-home mother, you'd pay her $171,000 a year.
Yeah, I know when I with that statistic, the first time you ever said that, it was just like mind blowing. But of course it's that much. And it probably is even more now because we are doing a lot. We are doing so, so much.
Yeah. The fourth reason why women can sometimes have resentment when it comes to being the breadwinner is there can be a loss of attraction or
Mm.
polarity. Polarity refers to just that energetic sexual charge between a couple. And women report that when they take on the dominant provider role, the energetic polarity in the relationship shifts. I have to be really careful with all this, okay? So I'm just, this is a highly offensive topic, okay? So I'm just going to tell you how it is for most of the people I've worked with or talked to.
Okay.
That because of that conditioning, that societal conditioning that we've had, we have an assumption that men, an unconscious assumption or an unconscious expectation that men are the breadwinners. And so when they're not, and then you find yourself working and doing all the things, you're sometimes in more of a masculine energy, or what we would refer to as more of a masculine energy. And what that means is when your partner, especially in a heterosexual relationship, this is also for homosexual relationships, because there's always polarity in homosexual relationships too. I'm just talking about your typical old school patriarchal heterosexual relationship. When he's not working or he's doing more of the household things, because of our conditioning, we can then ascribe him or assume that he's being more feminine. And if you are not attracted, if you're a female and you're not attracted to females or you're not attracted to feminine energy, that can put you off the sexual charge.
I find that stuff fascinating.
Yeah. It's hard to talk about because people get so offended by this, right? They're like, just because I'm a stay-at-home dad doesn't mean I'm not sexually attractive. I'm like, it's up to your wife to determine that. And let's make sure that you're doing things to increase the polarity in your relationship. Like maybe you're taking charge in other ways so that she really doesn't have to think about it. If she's still working and giving you a list every day of the things that need to be handled and you're just following the list, that would not be masculine energy. So there's all kinds of nuances and things, and I'm sure we're going to hear from women who've got this experience. And we want to hear your experience because right now I'm holding a lot of tea inside from people that I know. I'm trying to be very cautious about people's personal relationships, but I've seen this happen time and time again. So if as the female, you're constantly in go mode and your partner isn't showing up in a grounded way, or what we would refer to as a masculine way, or at least as an equally invested partner, the attraction can wane and then resentment sneaks in. Like, on top of all of this, I'm doing all the money earning, all the working, all the child rearing, all the cleaning, all the cooking, all the things, and you still want to bang me? Forget it. I'm out. The fifth reason why women as breadwinners can sometimes feel resentful is financial power doesn't equal relationship power. So even though they make more money, some women still feel pressure to submit to their partner's ego, especially if
Oof.
he's insecure about earning less.
Ugh.
And having to tiptoe around that can be exhausting. I have a friend who said one time, I bring in 80% of the income, but I still have to act like his fragile little ego is the boss.
Oh,
I
gross.
know. And also, I was like, okay, but you even calling it the fragile little ego
Mm.
is not going to help the situation at all. I went through this. So I was in my 20s and I was dating somebody that I was making more than. And I considered that if we got married, I was going to transfer some of the assets into their name. I know, I'm not even that person today. So it's so ridiculous and so stupid. So stupid. So dumb. And there's a name for it. I really believed men were the head of the household and all of that. And I really wanted a husband who was a breadwinner. It's just that when I was on the market for a husband, there was not really a lot of that available when I was shopping. And so I really had this, I had to deconstruct this belief about complementarianism. So that's a theological view held in some Christian traditions that men and women have different but complementary roles and responsibilities, especially in marriage and church leadership. And I really believed that. And I don't know that I don't believe it now. I just know that I didn't have that experience. So the wife is encouraged to submit to the leadership of the husband based on certain interpretations of the scripture. And that's contrasted with egalitarianism, which teaches that men and women are equal in authority and capable of doing the same roles in the house and the church. But I really believe that. I really believed in complementarianism. And I was like, okay, my job is going to be to take care of the home and all of that. And I wanted my whole life, all I wanted to be was a housewife. That was my dream.
This is the strangest things to still hear you say this because you have always said this is not something new. This is the way that it's been, and yet you are this like powerhouse that champions women, and you are like a force, and yet you would like to just be a little old housewife.
Not being just a housewife, like we would have a different president of the United States today.
Agree.
I was a housewife
Oh,
because
you could be president, but also you would be like a deadly first lady.
I'd be a deadly first lady. I would.
Yeah.
Everything would be, yeah, that man would be set up for life. My husband and I joke all the time. We met later in life, but he's, oh my gosh, if I had met you 20 years earlier. So it's like, I really would have taken good care in
Yeah.
such a CEO type way and still allowed him to be all the things. But anyway, regardless, that was my dream. Didn't happen. Okay. Didn't happen. Husband was in a very different place when we met. Phenomenal and masculine and all of those things. So I'm very fortunate that way. Tons of polarity. I have no issue that way. But it didn't look like I thought it was going to look. And what I remember thinking is at one point in my life, I was the program director of a
Mhm.
radio station, and my partner at the time was the assistant program director. And I gave up my job as the program director and became the assistant program director so he could be the program director.
Oh my gosh, I forgot
Yeah.
about that. I forgot about that. Erin.
I know. I kick myself now. We're obviously not together. I kick myself now because I thought I was doing the right thing by Jesus. And Jesus the whole time was like, Erin, I gave you a brain. I needed you to. It was just a very different situation. And I thought those things were exclusive. Like I thought, oh, I have to be in second position, but there's nothing second position when you're in a true partnership. So I had all of that backwards. So I just say all this because that can be a reason, right? Like financial power doesn't equal relationship power, and relationship power doesn't equal financial power. But when we get those things confused, we can make mistakes that are harmful not only to you as an individual and they limit your potential, but they're actually harmful to the partnership also if both people aren't operating at full capacity. The sixth reason why women sometimes, in my experience, are resentful as the breadwinner is isolation and loneliness, because being the breadwinner can feel very isolating if you don't have support.
Mhm.
There may be not enough women who have a shared experience as you. It's taboo for women to talk openly about resenting this role without being labeled as ungrateful or emasculating. And so we have to be really careful. We have to be in the same circles where people are experiencing what we're experiencing to really truly be able to talk about it freely and openly, which is what we're trying to do today. And then the seventh reason that women can feel resentful when they are the breadwinner, in my experience, is burnout. Because doing everything is a recipe for burnout. It's not the role of the breadwinner that's the problem. It's being the breadwinner without support. And
Mhm.
that's not empowerment. That's exhaustion wearing lipstick. That's what that is. And so if you are a woman carrying the financial load and starting to feel that simmering, ugh, there are a few things you can do to move from burnout and resentment to clarity, power, and peace, but they require you to make some changes.
Okay, but there's hope.
Because what we know is true is you can't control the other partner.
Yeah, okay.
So that's where it gets tricky because oftentimes we think if only my partner would change. Partner's probably not
Yeah.
going to change.
You tell us that over and over again. We have to stay in our own lane. We can't affect anyone else. We just hope that they come along once they see us making changes.
Yeah. And we do it without the hope that they're going to change. So that's the piece that's important is we make the changes that we want to make. We love them unconditionally as they are with zero expectation that they're going to change. And if they change, that's an extra blessing. It's not an expectation because if you have an expectation that they will change, you're going to create your own suffering because they
Mm.
probably won't. So you got to just be okay with the way things are. This is the choice that you've made. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to name the resentment without shame.
Oh.
Resentment thrives in silence, and resentment is always a result of an unspoken emotion or an unexperienced emotion. So it's something that we've just stuffed down or blocked. So you can say something like, babe, I'm assuming you're, what do people call each other?
Honey bunches of oats.
Honey bunches of oats, sugar tits, whatever it is. I'm starting to resent this dynamic. I think you just say it.
Yeah.
You're not a bad partner. You're a human with limits. And that's all you're just saying. I'm starting to resent this dynamic. You're not saying I resent you. You're saying I resent this dynamic. Now, naming it doesn't mean you're giving up. What it means is you're ready to address what's not working. And so then what you're going to do though, before you have this conversation, I probably don't just launch into that without a sort of a regulated response. You need to be regulated. But journal or go for a long drive and talk to your phone, make a voice note for yourself or something where you're like really getting clear on what specifically are you resenting? Is it the money? Is it the lack of help? Is it the imbalance? Is it something deeper? And truthfully, I know we're talking about women today because we're women, but this would also work if you were a dude and you were the breadwinner and you were feeling resentment. You
Hmm.
could have the same conversation. The second thing you have to do is get clear on what you actually want to happen. And you have to offer it to your partner because ultimately, if we're in love, our partner wants us to be happy. Our partner wants to be set up for success. So you're going to give them the keys that will help them be successful. What a lot of people do is they assume that their partner should know, and then they wait with resentment, and their partner doesn't change, and the resentment just builds. Okay. So you're going to get clear on what you want. You're going to communicate that. So, what are your needs? Do you want more help? Do you want more rest? Do you want more drive from your partner? Do you want less pressure to do it all? Right. A girlfriend of mine said, I don't need him to match my salary. I need him to match my effort. And I'm like, then tell him that. Right. One of the things that worked for them was she stopped giving him lists of things to do every day and started saying, this is the outcome I want. At the end of the week, I want a clean house, no laundry, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't care when you do it or how. Those are the outcomes I want. And he figured it out. It was
Mm.
really helpful for them.
I
So
like that a lot.
you just have to give your partner the opportunity to raise up. And if they don't, you have a lot of answers about the relationship already. The third thing you're going to do is you're going to have the hard conversations. You're going to talk to your partner. You're going to use I statements like, I've been feeling overwhelmed, not you're not doing anything around the house, right? So everything is about you. You're going to keep it honest, but you're going to keep it loving. I've been feeling overwhelmed and unsupportive. I know I'm earning more right now, but I need us to be a team in other ways, emotionally, mentally, whatever, physically. If they get defensive, there's data there. That's good data. If they lean in, that's partnership. And then you have to redefine the contribution. So money isn't the only way to contribute. Does your partner handle home or care for kids or run the errands? Awesome. Like start focusing on what they are doing. There's real value there. But if they're not contributing financially or domestically, then it could be time for a rebalance, right? So you could create a household contribution plan, like who does what, when, and why, just like a business would. I hate this. I have to tell you, I hate this and would only use it as a last resort, but it could work.
Why do you hate it?
I hate it because I feel like there's a lot of rules there,
Ah,
and I don't like relationships with rules. I don't think rules help couples. I think if you're doing this as here's some guidelines and let's figure out how to balance this, but otherwise it becomes almost a scorecard where you're like, I'm cleaning the toilets, therefore you need to do that. I don't want that scorekeeping in a relationship. It doesn't belong in a relationship. But if your relationship's broken down quite a bit, this could potentially work for you, especially if other ways of communicating in the past haven't had any effect. It also could be really helpful to include your children in this if you've got them, right? Mom is doing a lot. Dad is also stepping up to help. Here are some things you kids could do. And I also really believe in hiring out as much as possible for domestic help when you can. It's such a beautiful thing for your relationship because then it's not nearly as you haven't cleaned, you didn't do this, you didn't pick up after yourself, you've got somebody else, like you're on the same team now, facing outward together, and you can link arms and be like, let's clean the house. And maybe it could be that if your partner's earning a little bit of income, they could do something to bring in more income to cover those costs if this isn't a skill set of theirs. Then the fifth thing we have to do is we have to rebuild polarity and intimacy if you want to. So
only if you want to.
I just think it still has to be consensual. So I think sometimes resentment bleeds into attraction. And so we have to clean up the resentment first before we can find that attraction again. And if you want to rebuild connection, everybody will tell you go on date nights, but I just don't think a date night is going to solve it. Like the thing that's going to help is the taking action to relieve some of the pressure on the relationship, right? So if you're out there breadwinning all week and your partner's not doing as much or not earning as much, let's say they're on the couch a lot more and they're on the couch all week and they're like, let's go out Friday night for date night. I don't think that's going to change the way it feels when you come home the next day and see them on the couch.
Right.
So I think we have to come up with something else. But if date nights work for you, they'll work for you. A big thing would be shared goals, coming up with a vision for the future. What do we want this relationship to look like? And what does it look like over the next few years? And I would start with what does this look like when we're 99? Do we want to be active and vibrant? And do we want to be independent or do we want to be in a home with somebody spoon feeding us? What do we want this to look like? And then work back from there. What kind of income do we need? What kind of physical activity do we need to be doing? And sometimes that can inspire enough growth and change that then you don't have to give anybody any to-do list or start to do these little things because now you're working together on a common shared goal. Therapy also, I think a really great place to start, if especially if you're really disconnected and there's no polarity in your marriage. I think sex is such a great indicator of the health of a relationship. And I believe, I hope you don't have people in the car. Listen, we put an explicit rating on this podcast for a reason, Mom. Okay, so do not have any kids in the car. But I really believe you should be orgasming well into your old age. So somebody's got to be doing that for you. Hopefully, your partner.
Hopefully.
If not, then you need to be doing it. But all of those things contribute to an active, vital life. Like you can really gauge a person's health by their ability to orgasm and all of that stuff. And so I just say that because it's such a big indicator of health that women are afraid to talk about. So I just think if you can at least connect with that part of yourself, you have a shot at connecting with your partner, reconnecting with your partner. But if you are living an orgasmless life,
Mm.
no matter what's going on in the partnership, it's going to be harder to reconnect that part. So therapy is going to be really necessary in that case. You're looking at me like, I can't believe you just, do you want me to quickly glance over this or do you have something you'd like to share about orgasms?
I have nothing to share about them currently because I did not know we were going there. This is the part that I love is that it's always interconnected and I never know where you're going to go. And it's everything you're saying is so true. So true.
I'm just saying, I think that you just need to look into it. I'm not going to sit here and walk you through what to do. That's up to you. I'm just
That is a different podcast.
it's connected to health and well-being, which is connected to your money. And then the sixth thing that you can do is protect your energy. So if you're doing the most, you got to double down on boundaries and rest. And that might mean hiring help, even if your partner doesn't want to. That might mean saying no more often. That might mean taking solo time to recharge. That might mean, hear me now,
Yeah.
write this down, not solving your partner's problems for them.
Mm.
NOTSOLVINGYOUR, just spelling it out for you. Not solving your partner's problems for them. It's hard to do sometimes, but I know so many women that are over functioning, especially those that are the breadwinners. So this is about stepping back, and it's okay to let your partner fail. It's not a reflection of you. What's a reflection of you is how well you take care of yourself. That's going to be really important because burnout doesn't win you a trophy. And the seventh thing is you're going to ask bigger questions. And those are hard to look into and face into. So you got to find a good girlfriend and go for margaritas or mocktail margaritas and really ask yourself, like, do I still respect this person? I should say a trusted friend. Don't go out with chatty Cathy who's going to tell everybody all your marital business. That's not.
No,
And if you
wrong
don't have
person.
that person, journal it.
Yeah.
Do I still respect this person? Do we share the same values around money and work and partnerships? Am I staying out of love or out of guilt or fear or obligation? And sometimes resentment isn't just unexpressed emotion. Sometimes it's a big red flag. And sometimes it is just a season. So knowing the difference is going to be key.
I think the thing that hits home the most for me is just the fact that we've got to talk about it. If you're starting to feel like that little tiny nugget of resentment, which always starts tiny, right? But then it grows. Like you said, when you don't talk about it, it's like a fester. It's festering in there.
Mhm.
And it gets so yucky if you don't. And it's something that could be just easily be resolved potentially if you bring it up from the beginning when it is still like a tiny nugget versus a full-blown whatever it turns into.
Yeah, I think that's what happens is sometimes women don't say anything. And so then they start to fantasize, oh, maybe I just need a different partner. Maybe I just need right? They didn't address the root cause. And so next thing you know, they're on Hinge, taking a look around and they're flirting with the guy at work and you have to be really careful because a lot of those things are just the root cause is that the person I actually love, I'm afraid to have a hard conversation with. So now I'm in full blown avoidance. And by 1 degree at a time, I've now moved completely away from the relationship instead of toward it.
Mhm.
When you said fester, it reminded me of all the people I know who get a wound, an infected wound, and then the doctor tells them to soak it.
Okay, that's enough. We
No,
don't
no,
need to talk about that more.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking, though it did happen
Yeah,
to me. We talked
right.
about that. No, I'm not. But here's where I was going with it is like sometimes, when you've got a ton of resentment, people think, oh, you need more self-care. Go take a bubble bath. Don't soak the festering resentment in water. It's not going to work. You got to deal with it.
You do have to
You got
deal with
to air it out. So it works. This advice works for festering wounds, as you've said,
it.
but
Yeah.
it also works for resentments.